Well, there's a massive debate on the Rohingya refugee crisis across the globe. The Indian government has informed the Supreme Court of India today that if the Rohingya refugees are admitted in India, they will pose a security threat and also a burden on India's resources. Joining me is prominent author Taslima Nasreen, who hails from Bangladesh, and what exactly are her opinions on this particular issue. Thank you very much for joining us today. You know, what I want to ask you in the very beginning is on Bangladesh's approach on the Rohingya crisis. They have sheltered hundreds and thousands of Rohingya refugees. But we saw your tweet. You know, is there some kind of a double standards or hypocrisy that you are really hinting at?
Yeah, you know, I'm glad that Bangladesh sheltered 400,000 Rohingya refugees, and Bangladesh Prime Minister visited and cried for them. But I asked, if those persecuted people were Hindus or Buddhists or Christians or Jewish, would Bangladesh have sheltered them? I don't think so. I think some Muslim fanatics in Bangladesh wanted Rohingya Muslims should be sheltered in Bangladesh. So Prime Minister decided to shelter them. Maybe she thought of votes, but you know, many people in Bangladesh actually didn't want them to come to Bangladesh because those Rohingyas are drugs smugglers, and also they are committing crimes in Bangladesh, and many of them joined terrorist organizations. But you know, where could they go? Myanmar threw them out of their country, and they were in no man's land. No country in this world wanted them, you know. So it is good that Bangladesh sheltered them. If Bangladesh prevented them from committing crimes, it is fine. If Myanmar afterwards want to take them back, it is good, you know. But you know, in Bangladesh, a few months ago, so many Hindus were persecuted by Muslim fanatics. So many Hindu houses were burned down, and not only Hindus, tribal communities, Shantal, Chakmas, in the hill tracts, were persecuted by Bengali Muslims, and they were killed, raped, and their houses were burned down also. But Prime Minister did not utter a word, did not show any sympathy towards those persecuted people inside her country. But whenever Muslims came from outside, she suddenly became very sympathetic towards those persecuted people. And also, she said that she was a refugee once upon a time, and so that she understands the pains of refugees, so she has sympathy for refugees. But she doesn't want me to enter my country.
That's what I wanted to ask. My second question was this. You know, you have been a refugee, a forced refugee from your own country. You've been living in India, and you know, you've been traveling all across the globe. But Bangladesh, your own state, your own government did not come to rescue. The fanatics were really after you. Do you think there is, you know, complete hypocrisy on part of the Bangladesh government and the state machinery, which should have supported you, which should have given you security, which should have said that they stand for your freedom of expression, but they didn't?
No, they didn't. I have been living in exile since 1994. It's been 24 years that I have been, you know, moving from one country to next. And I have no place, I have no home, but I'm grateful to India that I am here. I love this country, so I'm very happy. But I would be happier if I could have freedom of movement, if I could go back to my country. I'm not saying that I want to live there, but why should I not have the right to go to Bangladesh, where I was born and brought up? But this, this Sheikh Hasina and the previous Prime Minister, both prevented me from entering my country. And Hasina showed sympathy towards the refugee people, but she made me refugee for 24 years. So I think that she thinks of her votes more than she thinks of, humanitarian approach.
Well, I also want to ask you one important question. Considering the global environment today, the growing, ISIS environment, the radicalization, be it in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and South Asia, do you think that perhaps Rohingya refugees, lakhs in number, could pose a security risk? There could be a growing radicalization, not just in India, but in Bangladesh as well?
Yeah, of course. Even though for humanitarian ground, I want those Rohingya refugees should be sheltered in many countries. Normally, what we see that Muslim countries do not give shelter to persecuted Muslims. It is non-Muslim countries always shelter persecuted Muslims. Look at Europe, so many persecuted Muslims are there, but not many are in the Muslim countries. So Bangladesh, in a way, showed an example that as a Muslim country, they can shelter persecuted people. But I am worried that in Bangladesh, those Rohingya Muslims could join, the terrorist organizations, because Jamaat-e-Islami and other Islamic organizations are very happy that Rohingyas now in Bangladesh, because it will be easy for them to radicalize those Rohingya Muslims. Already many Rohingya Muslims joined terrorist organizations, and in Bangladesh, the terrorist organizations will really work, really will try to take Rohingyas in their organizations.
So you quite agree with the Indian government. Indian government today in the Supreme Court said that there will be a security risk and there could be growing radicalization. One last question before I let you go. On the issue of India responding to the Supreme Court today itself and saying that the Rohingya refugees could be a security risk, a security threat for India, and also a burden for India's economy. So clearly, do you quite agree with it? Because you say that while there should be a humanitarian side, but no country should compromise with its security with such growing radicalization?
Until yesterday, I thought India should give shelter to Rohingya refugees. Because India is such a great country. India sheltered so many persecuted people in the past. India sheltered, 120,000 Tibetans, Muslims, Parsis, Christians, Jewish, all came to India, and India opened its door for everyone. I thought that it would be better if India maintains its generosity. But if there is a security threat, I think that no country should compromise with its security.
All right, with that exclusive reaction, it's time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, our focus will be